So today's job is to remove that guy right here. That is a oil and transmission fluid cooler. It's a combined unit. So in these blue hoses, I have transmission oil, and then the oils or motor oils on the blue lines below that. And then on the shell side, looks like you got seawater. I'm assuming that's the shell side. I guess that could be two sides. I guess I'll find out when I get it out of here. So this is getting pulled out because my hope is that this is why I'm losing so much oil when we run the engine. Read that this is a common fail part, so I'm gonna get it out, take a look at it, and hopefully do a test to see if it's leaking oil to seawater. Next you'll see it. Will be after I cleaned it up, after the mess I make. It's 4 lines, and it's a bracket that holds it on, plus the 2 lines for the salt water, which are just hose clamps. So let's get it out of there. Alright, so here's the heat exchanger. I got it pulled off the engine. Transmission fluid comes in this one, and motor oil's in this one. This is on the shell side. Salt water comes in here, goes out here, and that's on the tube side. So I have to take some measurements. I found a company that I can buy a new one of these, so I can send that off to them and get a quote for the part. And in the meantime, I'm thinking I'm going to use the hoses here, go to Home Depot and get some like PVC fittings or something. I'll plug one side. On the other side, I'm thinking I'm going to try and get a bicycle Schrader valve and put that into maybe like another piece of PVC. And then I'm going to press up with a bike pump the tube side to about 10 or 15 pounds of air, and then just let it sit and see if the pressure drops. If it drops, then it's leaking out one or both sides of this. So hopefully that's what I find. So that's it for now. I gotta go to the store. Alright, so concocted this little science experiment. I got a PVC pipe plug here, blocking this side off, and then this mess over here. I use pretty much every material they have at Lowe's. But this is the fitting that you use to blow out your sprinkler system come winter time. So you can hook an air compressor up and blow air through the system. So that's a garden hose fitting to another. This converts it from a garden hose to a 3/4. This was a reducer, a threaded, or it was a slip coupling to a 3/4 female thread, and then this was 1.25 to 1.25 thread, 1.25 thread, 1.25 pipe, or hose connection rather. Then I hooked up a bike pump and put 20 pounds of pressure on it, and I'm gonna sit and check and see if it. There's nothing. You can't feel anything coming out. It's holding pressure. I took some soapy water and sprayed the connection. I had a couple leaks today. Tightened up. There's still the fitting itself leaks a little bit right there. Nothing I can do about that. This was kind of more of a fun experiment, and I talked to the shop about ordering a new one and about testing it. They said even if I did this, it may not show itself because sometimes these have to be at temperature to show the leak. So I'm going to replace it either way, but I figured I'd do this just because. So I'll check back in and I don't know, 20-30 minutes, see what this thing shows. Alright, so it's been about 30, almost 40 minutes. We're dropped down about halfway. Looks to be, to me, about 10 pounds in there. Went from 20 to 10 pounds in about 30 minutes. And not exactly sure how to quantify. I did have a small leak there that I can't quantify, and I can't really repair that any way I can think of. It's just the fitting itself leaks right there. I'm replacing the whole thing anyways. It's just more of a fun thing. One of the things, yeah, they said that you got to have this at temperature to really test it, and obviously it's just at room temperature right now. So, I don't know, I think that's a little excessive. I think 10 pounds in 30 minutes should be enough to indicate that it's leaking. Alright, so here's attempt number 2. I put some sealant around the stem and got back up to 20 pounds, let it sit overnight to cure, and that leak is gone. So I'm going to come back in 30 minutes and see if that pressure drops again. Last time it dropped to 10 pounds in 30 minutes, so now that I fixed that leak, we'll see what it says. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes and there's barely been any drop in pressure, so I'm going to say this test did not prove that this is my problem. And even after I came back 30 minutes later, this fitting is leaking a little bit. So I'm not even going to bother to try and fix that, because this should have leaked more by then. But I'm still replacing it, because like I said before, they said that a lot of times you have to get it up to temperature to see the leak, so hopefully this is it. If it's not, we'll have to move on to the next thing. Alright, so I got the oil cooler in on the engine for a quick update. Some non-exciting news. One of the other issues, so I was testing 2 problems that we had on the trip up. One, we were going through oil a lot, and then the second issue was we weren't charging with the alternator. So I did the oil cooler in hopes that would solve the oil problems. I haven't checked the oil level yet. We've been running the engine this morning after I got it in. I brought it up to temperature, and it's been running for maybe an hour and a half maybe. So I'll check the oil level, but just watching it, I'm pretty confident that we're just burning oil. We're not leaking like I was hoping. Reason I say that is as soon as I started the engine up, I saw smoke, which when we were driving up, I saw smoke, but I thought it was white, or at least it looked white to me. Today when I went out and looked at it, I saw a hue of blue this time. Also, I saw an oil sheen on the water, and I just replaced the oil cooler, so that shouldn't be the issue there. And that was right after starting it up, so it wouldn't be at temperature yet. So unless I had bought a faulty oil cooler, I'm thinking the oil sheen I saw is from the smoke and the exhaust getting onto the water, and then now I'm seeing an oil sheen. Second issue is, like I said, the alternator wasn't charging. I saw one of our battery bank switches got turned off at some point. I don't know why, so I thought maybe that's why. Just where the Xantrex monitor views the battery, I thought maybe that's why I wasn't seeing any charge coming in. With no load on the battery, well, just the DC loads on the battery, it does maintain voltage at 14 volts, but as soon as I turn the inverter on, it drops voltage like a rock. As soon as I turn the inverter on, I'm drawing 30 amps out of the battery, and voltage just starts screaming down. So it's not keeping up, and it's a 125 amp alternator. It should be able to keep up with 30 amps of DC load. So my thought is the alternator is partially failed, where under low load it maintains voltage, but under some load it just starts to fail. And I believe there's some diodes in there that can fail, and once they fail, you can generate voltage, but you won't generate the current it's rated for. So that's my update for this morning. We've got some research to do and decisions to make on the engine. For now, we're just going to have to live with it. Hopefully, the rest as the season goes, we're only going to be using the motor a little bit here and there, and we'll be sailing, just motoring in and out of port, and running the engine for a couple hours, hopefully. We do have some longer trips planned for the season that, you know, there's a chance we might be running the engine for good periods of time for that due to schedules. Hopefully not, but we'll see. So we'll have to plan accordingly, make sure we're bringing oil for that. And then we'll have to make a decision long term of what we're going to do for the engine. If we're going to replace it with another diesel or do an electric conversion. I'd like to do an electric conversion, but I view that as a huge project with a lot of additional parts for us that would have to be done. So more to follow on that. We're going to have to talk some more and do some research and make our decision with what money I think we have coming in, what we can do. For basically, I'm going to try and do something for next season, and we'll see what happens. But here, I'll go show you the exhaust, and that's what all I can really show you. I can't show you the alternator really. It's putting out 14 volts with no load on it, but as soon as you put load on it, it drops down to 12.5. So here's the exhaust. So this is the engine idling at like roughly around 1,000 volts. I don't know if you can see the smoke coming out a little bit, or sorry, the 1,000 RPM, and you can see the oil sheen right there. But like I said, originally I thought that was water vapor. Now I'm pretty convinced it's oil, and it was worse when I started the engine. It's better now that it's warmed up and the rings expanded, but it's still coming out with smoke. So I'm gonna shut the engine down and check it, and we'll see what it looks like. But that's all for now.
Hey, we're sailing around Isles of Shoals today. It is a beautiful day with the family and Joe's friend from work, Mark. And there's somewhere, there she is. Amy's just hiding behind the electronics, and Joe is trying to figure out how to get the GoPro to work. We have my phone just in case, and his too. Look at this gorgeous day. It's a little windier than we thought it would be, a little chillier, but we carry our clothes with us.